services, people with disabilities save 85%, and Medicaid covers medical trips on our shared ride and paratransit services. Discover your options. Call 724-628-RIDE or visit factbus.com. Fact, driving independence in Fayette County.
This is The Great Outdoors with Jason White, exploring the great outdoors in Pennsylvania and beyond. Brought to you by the Mariana Outdoorsmen Association and by Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. Now, The Great Outdoors with Jason White.
Hello, friends. I'm Jason White. Welcome to The Great Outdoors. Have a very, I think, interesting conversation today and an awesome guest. And before I introduce him and dive into a really intriguing conversation, I want to give a special thanks to our sponsors, the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. You can join the MOA today. Early bird special runs through the remainder of the year. If you join today, you get the remainder of 2025 for free, along with all of next year. That is at MarianaOutdoors.com. Again, MarianaOutdoors.com. 1,000-yard rifle range, 2.5 miles of private trophy trout fishing. Trout are stocked monthly from October through May. 400 acres of upland bird hunting. Birds are stocked weekly. Pistol ranges, clay pigeons, and much more. Check us out. Again, MarianaOutdoors.com. Wild Acres Hunting Preserve. 10mileco.org. Give us a call, 724-579-0924. Free-ranging whitetail deer hunts, spring free-ranging turkey hunts, upland bird hunts. If you're looking for a guided hunt, or if you even want to do a continental hunt or a fundraising event, we'd love to have you. Again, 10mileco.org. Lodging, weddings, corporate events, fundraisers, guided fishing trips. Again, Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds, 10mileco.org, 724-579-0924. And last but not least, Washington County Tourism and Promotion Agency. Please visit Washington County, Pennsylvania. Upcoming events for the Mariana Outdoorsman Association, Friday, November 7th, is Trout Stocking number 2. That'll be at 9 a.m. in the morning, 1997 Maury Road, Clarksville, Pennsylvania, 15322. The following day, Saturday, November 8th, will be an open house and tour from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. And then if you go to the MOA Mariana, it's MarianaOutdoors.com website, or if you go to Mariana Outdoorsman Association at Facebook, you will see a lot of information about upcoming events that are happening all the way through spring, all the way into May. So, a lot of stuff happening. But as you all know, with the Mariana Outdoorsman Association, we have the dog tag program, which is a special thanks and also recognition, and we try to open up dialogue, resources, and try to whatever we can to connect veterans and first responders with the great outdoors. So today I have special guest Sergeant Major Bart U. Womack. Served in the U.S. Army with distinction for over 29 years, contributing immeasurably to the readiness of the armed forces and security of our great nation. He earned a bachelor's degree from Park University and MBA from Waynesburg University. His career highlights include Army Ranger, Drill Sergeant, Ranger Instructor, and a Sergeant of the Guard of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. He is a combat veteran with a Bronze Star for Valor. He's retired from the Army in 2006 as a commandant of the NCO Academy and Command Sergeant Major of the 101st Airborne Division. Upon leaving the military, he went straight to Hollywood to work as an actor and military technical advisor. He trained armies in Afghanistan and Nigeria and served as a program manager at IVMF, enhancing the military careers of veterans. He was knighted into the Order of the St. George in October 2020 and was recognized by the NFL's Pittsburgh Steelers as their Salute to Hero honoree in October 2024. He is also an author of the book Embedded Enemy, which I actually have here. If you can see this on video, which for those that miss our show, obviously we always put it on YouTube, Spotify, or Anchor Radio. But here's his book. Survivor of the Deadly Insider Threat, Terrorist Attack Against the 101st Airborne Division by a Fellow American Soldier. He is a thought leader, speaker, and specialized consultant in safety and security dedicated to mitigating mass shooter and insider threat attacks. He leverages his expertise and knowledge from a survivor's perspective on insider threats to deliver engaging and informative talks that empowers audiences with proactive situational awareness strategies to mitigate threats in a workplace, academic institutions, and places of worship. Bart, it is a pleasure to have you today.
All right. Thanks for having me. You're reading all the things in the promo there. I'm like, wait a minute, I need to stop this right now. I'm ready to go outdoors. I'm going fishing. I'm going hunting. For all those things that you talked about.
Yeah. So I think as we were talking before the show, it's I told you that I was in a mining accident when I was younger, back in 2013. I'm not a veteran. My grandfather was. Both my grandfathers were in the military, and so it's been something. And a bunch of other family members. I have my cousin's actually lieutenant colonel with the Air Force, so like I've had different family members that have been in the armed forces. So tip of the cap to everybody. But my grandfathers both got sick and ill, and I decided to stay and take care of our family farm. And when I did that, went through the Marion Outdoorsman Association. We wanted to come up with ways to. I felt that it was my duty to try to give back, not only to the community but to veterans and first responders. So over the years, we've just had different events. Collaborative efforts, trying to get people out. Obviously, we have a dog tag membership for folks, but I think it's always interesting when I meet people such as yourself that have different experiences and backgrounds, and I've met some people that were in high-profile fights and battles that maybe were lacking that engagement with the outdoors, and we're looking for different escapes. So from my perspective, first and foremost, thank you for your service. And
Thank you.
Certainly any way that I can reach out to people, and I would say if nothing more, find them peace and solitude and tranquility in their lives to connect with Mother Nature and to enjoy time with family, friends, maybe even, former military, co-workers and people that you had in your lives. But so let's I'll ask you some questions and you can answer, and by all means we can jump around from topic to topic. But I'm actually kind of interested about this book since we have it right here. It was written in 2013, Embedded Enemy. I want to jump to that.
Okay.
So you survived a mass shooter insider threat attack, which I think is interesting because obviously, we continue to see, I hate to say it, on national news and whatnot, some of these tragedies that happen. Can you take us back and tell the audience what happened, what prompted the book, what were your experiences like? Tell us the story of what happened.
Yeah, I'm a speak first about the telling and what you said in terms of those incidents happening. We probably need to begin to embrace them, and more important, we should never ever say that it's not going to happen here. The environment doesn't dictate what's going to happen. I'll get to that here in a minute. So March 23rd, 2003, we were already deployed to Kuwait for the war in Iraq. It was called Camp Pennsylvania, ironically, which was an intermediate staging base where we did all our, received all of our equipment off the ships, prep for battle, prep for combat, and all those types of things, did our orders and everything to prepare to cross the border, go into Iraq. On this particular day, well, actually, really March 22nd, the day before, we had put the final touches on our orders to cross the border, go into Iraq. So this was a Saturday, and based on that timeline, our unit, which was the 1st Brigade Combat Team in the 101st Airborne Division Air Assault, we were going to cross the border in the upcoming Thursday, so about 5 days away. Our commander had gone to bed about 2,200 hours that night. Kind of fast forward to March 23rd, early morning hours, just after midnight, approaching 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm in my tent, and in my tent there were myself, the commander, and the executive officer. I should try to lay out the camp itself. So we had 5,000 people in this camp, several units, all subordinate units of the brigade combat team. So several battalions. They had 700-800 people in those battalions. The camp itself, I would say, 10 football fields large. It's very, very hard to describe, but about that many. And just imagine headquarters being like right in the center of the camp and all these other subordinate units around us. So like I said, just after 1 o'clock, I noticed that the tent flap where I was sitting was moved. And I looked over at it and realized it was just the wind. I'm sitting at the end of this table. To my about 2 o'clock was a television. I was watching Tiger Woods play golf in what was called the Bay Hill Invitational, which is now the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I'm loading ammo, watching Tiger Woods play golf. So I'm sitting right at the end of this table. The flap kind of moves again, and I just kind of not paid attention this time because I thought it was the wind. Well, right in front of me, because I'm sitting at the end of the table, are sparks. And I knew that we were in a land of not quite right, and that was a not quite right grenade that was sparking before it exploded. But I had no doubt that it was some type of a grenade. So I jump up, run to the back of the tent to wake the commander. Commander gone to bed, I think I said earlier, like about 2,200 hours. The XO was in the tent as well, but he was on the other side of the table, and he could see what I saw.
How big is the tank you're describing? How big are we
So
talking?
we call them a GP medium, and it was a tempered tent, which means it had a air conditioning heating unit that kept it hot and cold based on the time of year and the weather and all that type of stuff. So how big are those things? It had a pretty big front part to it with a little bitty middle part, and then a little bit bigger part in the back, and the commander slept in the back. I don't know how big it is.
But no, it's not like it's like a house. It's a more like a smaller spook.
Well, it's not. I don't know how to describe it. I'd probably say if you saw any military movies at all, and they kind of show all these like tent city, it's like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure most people could
relate to that.
pick that up off of
Or
a movie.
Google, you'll find it, GP medium. So I go to the back of the tent to wake him up, to tell him this grenade's about to go off. You got to get out of the tent. Of course, he doesn't know what's going on. By the time I get to the back, the tent's pitch dark. Black, can't see anything. I get him up, say, I'm going to count to 3, we're going to run out of the tent. He's up. I kind of position ourselves in the middle. Again, he just doesn't know what's going on. It's dark. I count to 3, we start running. I make it out of the tent. I get outside, turn around, and face back toward the tent, and he's not there. I'm calling for him in, low tones. I know we're under some type of attack. I don't know what type of attack. I don't want to kind of silhouette myself and, holler and let the enemy know where I am. So I'm whispering for him, and he's not there. Then I hear a gunshot, and then I hear a yell. And I know it was the XO. I just knew by the voice that it was him. I heard him yell before, but I just knew that it was him. I pull out my weapon. I cock it. It has a magazine in it. It's a 9mm pistol. I cock it, and this goes, which means there's no ammo in there. Otherwise, it would have and turned it around. Mm-hmm. So I know I'm screwed now. Of course, you get that little cartoon picture in your head up here saying your ammo's on the table and you can just sit in there, but you can't get to it. So I'm trying to figure out how do I arm myself? How do I get ammunition? And the answer was the TOC was about 25 yards behind me. So I run to the TOC to get a M4 ammunition and nod so I can see outside. I get those items. Before I get them, I actually position people throughout the TOC in a security posture throughout all the different entrances. Got guys down in the prone. I give them what I call the running password. And the running password, which meant if I'm coming back in, the password to let me in, we call it running because I'm coming in quickly. The password is going to be a Sergeant Major, so you don't shoot me. All right. So I get my items to go back out to our tent and looking for the commander and executive officer, and they're not there. So at this particular time, it's dark, it's eerie, like you don't hear anything, you don't see anything, but we know that, shots been fired at least. I go back inside the TOC, summon someone to go in the area of my tent so I can go back out and look for the enemy. Before I go out, I make a call on the radio saying, hey, we're under attack. I need a platoon in the vicinity of the TOC. Someone comes on the radio and says, do you need an FLA, which is field litter ambulance? And I knew one person had been shot, so I say yes. I go back out the tent, and so I'm challenged. And I recognize the voice that's challenged me. Halt, who's there? I tell him it's the Sergeant Major. I said, Sergeant Major, what's going on? I said, I don't know. The XO's been shot. He says, so has Captain Seifert. So now we know we have 2 people being shot. Now, something happens from an adrenaline perspective that everything's moving so fast, but slow in my mind. But from an adrenaline perspective that you don't hear some things. So by now, 3 grenades had exploded. It's very, very hard not to even miss hearing those things, but I heard none of them. So now we have casualties in the 2nd tent and casualties in the 3rd tent. Great grenades came in. A few of them had begun to stand up.
What's the 'cause I don't know. I've never actually seen a grenade go off. But what's the radius?
Yep, I was going to get to that. A grenade explodes at a 15-degree radius. So if you're below that, I would probably say 13. If you're at 13 degrees, you're probably safe. Anything above that, you're going to catch it. And the more you're above it, the more you're going to catch. Our Air Force LNOs that was in the 2nd tent, they were standing up on their feet and caught a lot of shrapnel. A few other guys got some as well in their legs, lower extremities, but those 2 kind of got it, waist above. The next tent, a grenade was thrown in there. A few people had made it out of the tent before the grenade came in. One person was on his way out, realized he didn't have his ammunition, went all the way to the back of the tent to get it. By the time he started back out, that's when that grenade exploded in that tent. He was 17 inches away from the grenade. One person that came out of the tent was shot point blank in the back. So now he's laying there on the ground. Our 4th tent had our NCOs in it. They were just coming out of their tent as Captain Seifert was falling to the ground from that gunshot. And then they say they saw one person run, away into the darkness. So now we're nowhere in a full-fledged attack here. We have casualties in 2 tents. We know 2 people are shot as well, and we're beginning the triage of our casualties based on the severity of their injuries. Tent number 2 becomes the place where the triage is taking place. The FLA comes over in the vicinity of the TOC. People are loaded up onto that FLA that's taken to the aid station that's on the camp. They treated there further and for evacuation. So all this is happening at the same time while we're looking for the enemy. A huge fireball explodes in the sky. And now we think we're under, it's a coordinated attack. You're attacking us from the air and you're attacking us on the ground. So now we have to watch the airspace. One helicopter landed prior to that explosion. It's loaded, it lifts off, and it's flying to the CASH or Combat Support Hospital that's about a 1-minute flight away. Second helicopter lands, it is loaded. As that's being loaded with casualties is when that explosion happens in the sky. They're told that they can't go to the CASH that's 1 minute away. They have to fly to a CASH that's 75 kilometers away. So arguably that change in CASHs cost one person their life. So that takes off. We're still trying to determine what happened, what this explosion is in the sky. We're still on the ground. As the casualty has been evacuated, it is full-on search for insurgents on the ground, and with no clue of them at all, like nothing. I determined something had to have changed in this camp, that we had been here for 21 days or so and there hadn't been a breach. I had gone out to our guard post to check on our guards and make sure they're doing all the right things, and they were. Now our camp was surrounded by a 12-foot dirt berm. So it almost literally impossible for someone to climb up that berm without sinking to infiltrate the camp. And then there was concertina wire at the top. They wouldn't get that far without the guards being able to detect them. But how did an enemy get into our camp? So I'm told, I said, there's something that had to have changed in this camp, and someone says that interpreters came in last night. Bingo, it has to be them, go find them. So we find the interpreters, got them on the ground, hands behind their head, M-Force pointing at their heads. We finally get them to an area to interrogate them and learn that they have nothing to do with it. So now we're back to square one looking for insurgents that we have no sign of. Our commander, the reason he didn't make it outside the tent was because a frag grenade was thrown into that tent and then exploded, and it knocked him back into his sleeping area. So now he's in the TOC. He had been concussed, but now he's in the TOC. He says we need to get accountability of our personnel. So a call goes out on the radio to get accountability of personnel, and we learned that one person is missing, so are grenades and ammunition, and his name is Sergeant Akbar. So now he becomes our number one suspect, and we're looking for him. Now we have 5,000 people in this camp, and we're looking for one guy that's a soldier that, unless he changed clothes, wearing the same thing that we're wearing. So how do we find one guy? You talk about needle in a haystack. So when we hear that word, myself and the intel officer, Major Warren, we come out of the tent at the same time. Now, he had been going around all night, checking the bunkers that we have, and he would ask who's in the bunker. He had his pistol out, he'd just walk up, who's in the bunker? They would identify themselves, and he'd give them some instructions, then move on to the next bunker. So once they come out of the TOC, he kind of goes to the right, because he realized there was a bunker that he hadn't checked. I go to the left to tell our senior leaders on the ground that who we're looking for. And I remember telling our first sergeant, he says, you mean it's one of our own? And I had to pause for a moment just to digest the fact that it was, and just said, yes, it's one of our own. And I didn't want to give them any instructions of how they were going to relay that to their subordinates. I let them figure that out on their own. So you can imagine on this camp, you got all this chaos going on. Over 90% of the unit had, probably higher, had never deployed before in a combat situation. And now you have this stuff going on in the camp, explosions in the sky, casualties being evacuated, and no doubt, itchy fingers, and you don't know who the enemy is. You haven't seen anything. And now you learn it's one of your own. Mm-hmm. And you have to, digest it. They're probably wearing the same thing you are. So anything that comes in your field of fire could be them. So the good news in that particular part, where we didn't have friendly fire, was that the first sergeant made an emphasis when we were training that you only shoot at what you can positively identify. That's great. It's great in theory in this situation because no one knew what Akbar looked like. So how could you positively identify? We get lucky and don't have fratricide there. So Major Warren, again, like I said, come out of the TOC, he goes to this one bunker. Again, he'd been walking around all night with his pistol in his hand. As he approached the bunker, he says, who do we have here? And the response was Sergeant Akbar. Well, Akbar didn't know we're looking for him. He has the wherewithal to holster his weapon, continues to walk toward the bunker. There's another person there. That person identifies himself, and then he takes Akbar down. That's how he's apprehended. At that time, as they're got him out there and they're searching him and everything, I take the time to go back to my tent and get my gear, since I didn't have anything, get the ammo this time, even though I still had this M4. And when I get to a tent, I'm shining a flashlight as I begin to go in, and I see an expended piece of brass. And I know that it has to be the piece of brass from where our XO was shot. I continue to go into my tent, and I see our colors. So the command sergeant major is the custodian of the colors, and they're all burnt up. So I'm really pissed now because Bart Womack failed his job. He's a custodian, and he failed. They're all burnt up. I continue to shine my light over to my area where I slept, and that's where the frag grenade blew up. So where before I said the sparks of this other thing that came in there, that ended up being an incendiary grenade that starts fires. But a frag grenade came in on the other side. And again, it blew up where I slept. And I'm looking at all my stuff, especially where I slept, and it had shrapnel holes all in it. And then it hits me that had I not been watching Tiger Woods play golf, then I would be dead. Now I'm pissed because this dude tried to kill me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he attempted the same on some others, but it did become personal because it's me. Not that my life is more important than theirs, but that's the way it hit me. So I get my gear and I'm going out. Now I'm going to do something to this dude. I don't know what it's going to be. I probably can't shoot him in front of everybody, but I'm going to hurt him bad, some way, somehow. And I'm on a warpath straight to where he is. As I approach, people are coming up from the side and they're trying to get to him. So I spend my time holding them back, and I don't get to do what I was going to do, which probably would have been stupid, but don't tell people I'm stupid on air. So I'm in holding them back so I don't get to do anything. Dadgummit. So I remember Sergeant Butler saying, Sergeant Major, here's some grenades. He had put these grenades into a protective mask carrier. He said, here's the grenades. Do you want those? They're like, nope. Leave those in the bunker. That's the best place for those. But give me his weapon. So they gave me his weapon. And normally get a weapon, we put the weapon on safe and we clear it. Still had the magazine in there. But I put it on safe, but I didn't clear it. Because I knew that if this weapon and all these rounds in it, to include the one in the chamber, if this weapon fired a shot of that expending brass by my tent, if those matched and it came from this weapon, then he did that. Mm-hmm. And because the numbers on the back of a round they have numbers on it called a dodic, and all those would match if it came from the same lot, from that magazine, etc. So I took the weapon, I went back over to the vicinity of my tent, put it down there, that piece of brass, and put a guard on it. Said, "Don't you leave until you're not relieved until I relieve you," because I knew that would be a match. We got him to a secure area, and someone asked him, why he did this. He said, to keep y'all from killing our women and raping our children. So we still hadn't put two together that because of his last name that was associated with his religion. And this whole hour had to digest O-U-R, hour, from someone who's wearing the same uniform. It says Army. They took the same oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But they're saying to rape our women and kill our children. Or kill our women, rape our children.
A good question for you.
Yeah.
Two questions that come. Well, there's a bunch of questions, but how old was this guy?
32 at the time.
32.
Yeah.
And he's, I'm assuming, born and raised in the United States?
Yep. Born and raised in Los Angeles. Went to Cal, engineering degree, although it took 8 years. Yeah.
Quite interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
We learned that the fireball in the sky ended up being an explosion from a British Tornado fighter jet returning from a mission. Our Patriot battery saw this fast-moving object in the sky and shot it down. Now, they're hearing all these explosions on the ground and gunfire on the ground, and here comes this fast-flying object, and they just assumed it was a Scud and shot it down. So that was the friendly fire incident that happened. Again, we have them in a secured area, have accountability our personnel. We learned later that one person that was shot in the back died. And then 2 days later, we learned that one person died from wounds from 83 grenade shrapnel holes in his body. The best thing that happened to us was 2 days later, we crossed the border and go into Iraq. Just say put these things in a rearview mirror. It was literally in a rearview mirror. After the attack of that day, I remember looking at my soldiers and they were distraught, and grieving, all those things. And I couldn't fathom that. What I saw was a bunch of individuals that could not go across the border whenever it was going to be and fight this war. Like, there's no way these people can fight this war. And I have to fix this somehow. And so the fix was, I know you're grieving, but get up and get out of here. You're not going to do that here. It's a big camp. Go find some place out of my sight, not around here, and go do that. And that was my way to kind of, eradicate this mindset of defeat, and more importantly, try to maintain the mindset, the warrior mentality that has to go fight this war when we go across this border, whenever that's going to be. The very next morning, we have the memorial service for Captain Seifert, the one who was shot point blank in the back. That night prior, one person said they saw two people running. So we were thinking, is there an accomplice somewhere amongst these now 4,999 that's left? Now, CID in their investigation said, no, he was the lone actor. There was no one else. But I knew the guy who said that. And after one person committed an attack, I'm like, okay, although CID is saying there wasn't an accomplice, what if there was? So I have a platoon of my own soldiers come guard the headquarters that's in the middle. And if you guard, you got your weapons pointed out. Well, guess who they pointed out at? Oh, the rest of my soldiers. Like, you almost got me once, you're not going to get me.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny part about that is I just did that. You know, as the command sergeant major, I just did that. I didn't run it by the commander. I wasn't looking for his blessing. Or, you know, okay, I didn't ask. Like, this is what I'm doing. What are you going to say? Oh, no, there's no one else? Well, 2 days ago, you would have said this would have never happened. So I wasn't taking a chance. And those guys, I would tell you, the funny part about them, and just listening as people approached near our headquarters area, how they would challenge them. I mean, they were, it felt like they were more serious about that than they were in training, if it was training. And they weren't fooling around, which was a good thing and the right thing to do. But just imagine that. You have your own soldiers guarding you from your own soldiers. Unreal. We learned the trial took, so we crossed the border and go into Iraq. We do our mission, we come back. And we learned in the trial that Akbar had written in his diary certain things. And I'll paraphrase here because I don't have it in front of me. Usually I read it verbatim so people don't think he made that up. But he says, "It is my goal to destroy America." And he wrote this in 1996. "It is my goal to destroy America. Destroying America is my greatest goal. My life will not be complete unless America is destroyed." He joined the Army in 1998. So it was planned all along. Now, how he was going to do it, didn't know. But he already had hatred toward America, and in his words, tried to destroy America. Now, one person can't destroy America. Bin Laden didn't destroy America. Destroyed parts. He destroyed parts. Mm-hmm. He destroyed parts in a manner that, like I told you, everyone was dejected, and they needed to grieve afterward and all that. But to the point where I say, you take out the head, the body will follow. Take out the headquarters, the body is the mentality, the attitude, the motivation of the rest of the unit followed. And they followed until I had to put it into that following. Now, he was on guard, guarding the ammo from his unit. Like I said, we had several subordinate units. And the ammo had just come in right before this attack. Well, probably 5 hours before that, as it started to get dark. So my commander just issued order. They can, issue the ammo whenever they want to. You want to put Humvee lights on and issue it in the dark, knock yourself out. If you want to guard it and wait till the morning, knock yourself out. So this unit chose to put a guard on it and issue it during daylight. Well, he volunteered for guard. So he's on guard with a fellow soldier. Told that soldier, now he's a sergeant. Soldier's a private. Said, "Oh, go ahead, I'll take the rest of the guard, until we're relieved." Well, any private goes, "Thank you, Sergeant, I'm going to sleep." And he took that opportunity to start opening up crates and everything to get the ammo and the grenades out. And then he comes across the desert from where his unit was to where the headquarters was, about 300 meters, to commit the attack on the headquarters. So had a modus operandi been to kill more, there was more to kill where he was, and much easier. But that wasn't the modus operandi. It was to kill, but take out the headquarters.
Yeah.
Take out the head, the body will follow. He wrote in his diary in February. Remember, this happens in March 2003. He wrote in February, "I'm not going to do anything as long as I'm here at Fort Campbell, but as soon as I get to Iraq, I'm going to try to kill as many of them as possible." So that's what he did.
Now, some interesting. So this guy was born right in Los Angeles area?
Correct.
And I think it's fascinating. I would love to know his. I think it's interesting with today's society, right? Even look at this back in the 90s, and so it goes back to the outdoors, right? Kind of like, well, what was his environment? What was his upbringing? Who had an impact on him? Who made him think this way to the point of obviously such extreme that you want to literally destroy your own people. I think it's pretty eye-opening, right?
Yeah. So his mother was Muslim, of Muslim faith. He lived very close to a temple, so he attended that temple as a kid. Religion doesn't pull the trigger; people do. Mm-hmm. In society today, as it always has been, we have a belief. We are entitled to believe whatever we want to believe, and from there we follow an ideology, and everyone's entitled to do that. The problem is where the individual, based on other influence from the ideology, that they become radicalized. Now, if you're in a certain organization, all that type of stuff, they can help escalate that radicalization. That didn't happen for him. He just self-radicalized. He believed in what the faith was and took it to a different level. Just like whatever I am, what you are, or whatever your ideologies are, we can take them to whatever we want to, based on how our conviction for it. We can do that on our own. And there can be an outside influence too, that we never have to talk to, that we never go attend none of their things, but we can listen to it all and escalate inside of ourselves something that we think it should be if we want to do that. So we see that happening every day. So it becomes radicalized. And once they're radicalized, it's just tick, 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 extreme, then boom.
Mm-hmm.
That's the escalation.
Which I would say, just from this story and timeline, obviously post 9/11, I would say that was definitely a lot of tick, tick, ticks happened that day. Obviously some booms and a lot of negativity and,
but keep in mind, even though it happened post 9/11, it was already seeded in 1996.
I'd be curious, how always, even how your book is written, Embedded Enemy. It's interesting to see even some of the folks that, even when you look back at 9/11, that were in this country for years, people that had seated themselves in different places, and it makes you. It's certainly, even in this capacity, this story, because this is actually the first time I knew of this. Somebody told me here recently of it, but it gives you a pretty terrifying perspective that you could even have people inside the military. Imagine almost like I hate to say it, but like a Manchurian candidate or something, to where, if you really could be destroyed from within, theoretically, whether that be military, politicians. I think it would have been. Could you imagine? I know the gentleman has more of a Muslim style name, I guess, is probably the best way to say it. I don't know if that's the appropriate way to say it, but imagine if his name's just Mike Jones. Mm-hmm. People would have been like, Mike Jones, you know what I mean? Like it kind of like. Could you imagine just it just, I don't know. The story just kind of makes my head spin as far as the wheels are spinning as to could you imagine some of the people?
I think I started from the beginning saying you should never say it's not going to happen, because we all said that. Mm-hmm. We all said it's not going to happen until it happened. So that's why very strategically, this is titled Embedded in the Insider Threat. We have met the enemy, and it is us. We're looking down the street. I'm looking at the other country over here. Okay, it could be. However, when we start focusing all over there, then we miss what's happening here.
Has the I guess this will be our closing thought for today, because wow, this has been a great conversation. Have there been changes to, I guess you probably can't tell me in full context, but have there been changes to processes or procedures, whether with identifying people like this that might have a I don't know.
I know what you're talking about. I would say there's a lot more work to be done. This incident happened, it's a copycat world. So this happened in 2003. Well, in 2009, it happened again in Fort Hood, Texas. Now, that one got a lot more attention, and people paid a lot more attention to it because it happened on U.S. soil. Same ideology, same reasoning, same everything. So we didn't do anything after this happened. In fact, we tried to push it up under the rug, as if it didn't happen. As we didn't want the taxpayers to know that, or begin to think that the military's harboring terrorists. Well, you didn't harbor them, you didn't know. So admit you didn't know and get better at knowing. But that didn't happen. So it happened again in 2009. And then as late as and this happens regularly from the military where people, that's what you said, a very simple name, Mark Jones, or I think whatever you use. And I forget this guy's name. But he joined the military and he got caught in 2021. He joined the military to deploy with his unit to kill fellow soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. He went as far as to take our combat plans, or the way we fight, our tactics, and send it to the enemy overseas. Mm-hmm. So when I come join you over there, we can kill them all together. 2021. I forget his name. And race has nothing to do with this, but it's the white guy with a simple name.
Yep.
So again, anyone can align with any ideology and become radicalized about it. So with all that, and particularly this attack, this is what I came up with. That no profession, level of education, ideology, or religion is above reproach. There is no profile. The insider threat is closer than you think.
Well, closing thoughts. Embedded Enemy. For those of you that have not read it, here it is on
Amazon.
It's available on where else
Correct.
can you get it? Amazon. Where else?
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay. That being said, for me personally, I find these stories fascinating because I feel when you think of psychology, somebody's upbringing and who they are as a person and their community, and with me, with the outdoors, that's something that I feel is a very embracing and uplifting part of somebody's life. And also on the back end, you mentioned about people grieving and whatnot. I've met people, and not necessarily in this particular story, but people in the military that are finding ways, even when they come home, struggling with finding ways to cope or to assimilate. And again, I feel very strongly, and I would be happy to have you or anybody that you would want to like any way, an opportunity to connect people with that tranquility, solitude, getting people to heck, even just sit around a fire and have a cup of coffee and just talking to one another. It's amazing how that can be soothing for the soul.
Definitely.
And but I thank you, and certainly I'd love to have you back, and I'm sure there's other stories and things that we can dive into and different trainings. And I haven't really got to talk to you about the hunter trick because I've met people that love to do like the long sniper training, but now we've taken that and trying to teach people about long distance hunting classes and how those tools and techniques. But I want to give a special thanks again to our sponsors, Marion Outdoorsman Association. Join today, MarionOutdoors.com, 10 Mile Creek Outfitters, Wild Acres Farm Fishing and Regulated Hunting Grounds, 10mileco.org, and please visit Washington County, Pennsylvania. I'm Jason White. This has been The Great Outdoors, and I'll see you all next week.